Imagine waking up on a normal morning, heading outside to go to work, and your car is gone. No, it wasn't stolen. No, Karen had it towed. For what reason? Absolutely none. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood, thought she could make up rules as she went. And since she didn't like me, she decided that my car violated HOA policy. But there was one small problem. She never actually read the rules. So I did what any good neighbor would do. I fought back. And by the time I was done, Karen didn't just regret towing my car. She ended up paying for it. Literally. Before we dive into this insane story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Tailflow, and drop a comment if you've ever had to deal with a power-tripping HOA. It started like any normal morning. I grabbed my coffee, got my stuff together, and stepped outside to head to work. But the moment I reached my driveway, I froze. My car was gone. At first, I thought I was going crazy. I checked my garage empty. Looked up and down the street, nothing. That's when I saw my neighbor, Mike, staring at me from his porch. He shook his head. Dude, Karen had your car towed. I blinked. She what? Mike sighed. She said it was illegally parked. Called a towing company first thing this morning. I felt my blood boil. My car had been parked in my own damn driveway. I stormed over to Karen's house and banged on the door. She opened it with her signature smug look. Oh, it's you. Where's my car, Karen? I asked, trying to keep my cool. She crossed her arms. It was a violation of HOA policy. Non-compliant vehicles are subject to removal. I clenched my jaw. Karen, my car was legally parked in my own driveway. What rule did I break? She smirked. Page 15, Section B. No vehicles may be stored in driveways for extended periods. I almost laughed. Stored? Karen, I drive my car every single day. She shrugged. Not my problem. You can take it up with a... Then she slammed the door in my face. That's when I knew. This wasn't about my car. Karen just wanted to flex her power. But what she didn't realize, she had just messed with the wrong person. I marched straight home and pulled out the official HOA rulebook. If Karen wanted to throw rules at me, I was going to throw them right back. And after 30 minutes of digging, I found something interesting. The rule Karen quoted. She left out the second part. HOA Rule, page 15, Section B. No vehicles may be stored in driveways for extended periods unless they are operable and regularly used. In other words, Karen had no case. She broke HOA policy by having my car towed illegally, and now I was going to make her regret it. Karen thought she could get away with towing my car by quoting a rule she didn't even understand. But now, I had proof that she broke HOA policy herself. And trust me, I was going to make her pay. The first thing I did was call the towing company. A guy named Dave picked up. Yeah, we towed it this morning. It's at our lot now. How much to get it back? I asked, already annoyed. He hesitated. $4.50. I nearly choked on my coffee. $450? For what? Dave sighed. Look, man, we just follow HOA orders. Your AO president signed off on it. My eyes narrowed. Karen. Yeah, he said. Karen's something. That's when I smirked. Because Karen had signed off on an illegal tow. I marched straight to the HOA office, legal documents in hand. Mrs. Jensen, the HOA treasurer, looked up when I walked in. Oh, let me guess. Karen drama. I dropped the rulebook on the counter. Karen towed my car. Illegally. She sighed. Again. I pointed at the exact rule Karen misquoted. She ignored the second half. My car is not a stored vehicle, which means she had no right to tow it. Mrs. Jensen frowned. Wait, she actually signed the tow request? I handed her a copy of the authorization form. Her face turned pale. Oh, she's in trouble. The next morning, Karen was strutting around the neighborhood like she had one. She didn't know that the HOA board had already scheduled an emergency meeting about her illegal actions. At exactly 10 a.m., Mrs. Jensen knocked on Karen's door. Karen opened it, smiling, until she saw the HOA paperwork in Jensen's hand. What's this? Karen asked, frowning. A formal complaint against you, Mrs. Jensen said coldly. You violated HOA policy by towing a legally parked vehicle. Karen blinked. That's ridiculous. The car was regularly used and operable. Mrs. Jensen cut in. Which means you broke HOA rules. Karen's face turned bright red. You're required to cover the full towing cost or face a personal fine of $1,000. Karen gasped. That's not fair. Jensen didn't blink. Neither was towing his car. Karen was furious, but she had no way out. She had signed the authorization. She had misquoted the rules. She had abused her power. And now, she had to pay up. That afternoon, I got a call from the towing company. Hey, Karen just paid the release fee. You can come pick up your car. I smirked. Oh, trust me, I will. And as I drove my perfectly legal car back home, I made sure to wave at Karen as I passed. Her death glare? Totally worth it. Karen had already lost once. She was forced to pay the towing fee, got publicly called out by the HOA, and had to watch me drive my car home like nothing happened. But instead of cutting her losses, Karen did what all power-hungry HOAs do. She doubled down. A few days later, I found another HOA notice taped to my door. Violation notice. Your vehicle is an eyesore and does not meet community standards for appearance. You have 48 hours to remove it or face a $250 daily fine. I burst out laughing. Karen was so salty about losing that she was now trying to fine me for how my car looked. And the best part, my car was a perfectly normal, well-maintained sedan. I knew exactly what she was trying to do. She wanted revenge. Too bad for her, I was 2 steps ahead. That same week, the HOA held a board meeting, and I made sure to be there. The second I walked in, Karen's eyes narrowed. I held up the new violation notice. So, Karen, I want to explain this? She smirked. HOA rules allow us to enforce neighborhood aesthetics. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Then why is my car an issue, but Mike's old truck, parked 2 houses down, isn't? Karen's face twitched. I continued. Or what about Mr. Delgado's SUV? Same model as mine, and yet no violation notice for him. The HOA members started whispering. Mrs. Jensen, the same HOA board member who had confronted Karen earlier, frowned. Karen, did you issue this notice yourself? Karen stiffened. Well, Mrs. Jensen cut her off. Because this looks a lot like retaliation. Karen's smug look vanished. The other board members weren't stupid. They knew Karen was abusing her power. And now, they had written proof. Mrs. Jensen cleared her throat. Karen, as per HOA bylaws, any board member found to be issuing unjustified violations will be subject to review for removal. Karen's eyes went wide. Wait, no. I was just enforcing community standards. A few of the other board members shook their heads. This is the second time you've done this, Mrs. Jensen said. First, the illegal tow, and now this? She turned to the rest of the room, all in favor of Karen being removed from the HOA board. Hands shot up. Karen's face turned bright red. You can't do this. I made this neighborhood what it is. Mrs. Jensen sighed. And now you're making it worse. She looked around. The vote is final. Karen, you're officially removed from the HOA board. Boom. Karen had towed my car for no reason. She had tried to find me for revenge. And now, she had lost everything. Karen had lost. She was kicked off the HOA board, exposed for abusing her power, and forced to pay for the illegal tow. But did she accept defeat with dignity? Of course not. Karen did what all entitled people do when their world starts falling apart. She had a full-blown meltdown. The morning after the HOA meeting, I was out in my driveway washing my car when I heard it. A high-pitched, furious scream coming from Karen's house. I turned just in time to see her storming down the sidewalk toward me. You ruined everything, she shrieked, waving a stack of papers in her hand. I raised an eyebrow. Good morning to you too, Karen. She thrust the papers at me. You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, guess what? I'm suing you for defamation. I glanced at the papers. They weren't legal documents. They were just printed out HOA emails and random notes. I burst out laughing. Karen, this isn't how lawsuits work. Her face turned purple. You made me look like a fool. I shrugged. No, Karen, you did that to yourself. At this point, Karen was so loud that neighbors had started coming outside to watch. And then, Mrs. Jensen, the new HOA president, walked up, arms crossed. Karen, she said, her voice ice cold. This is harassment. Karen spun around. You did this to me too. Mrs. Jensen didn't even flinch. No, Karen, you did this to yourself. Then she reached into her folder and handed Karen a formal notice. Official HOA warning. Due to repeated violations and harassment of homeowners, you're now under review for permanent expulsion from the HOA. Karen stared at it, shaking. Then she looked around and realized half the neighborhood was watching her freak out. Her face turned as red as a fire hydrant. Without another word, she ripped up the notice, stomped back to her house, and slammed the door so hard that a porch light shook. A few weeks later, a for sale sign appeared in Karen's yard. Rumors spread that she was so embarrassed she couldn't stand living in the neighborhood anymore. By the time her house finally sold, she was gone. No dramatic exit. No revenge attempt. Just gone. With Karen out of the picture, the HOA actually started working for the people instead of against them. No more nonsense fines. No more power trips. No more HOA dictatorship. And the best part, I never had another issue with my car again. Because at the end of the day, Karen wasn't enforcing the rules. She was the problem all along. With Karen finally gone, the neighborhood felt like a completely different place. No more random fines. No more petty power trips. No more unhinged HOA drama. For the first time in years, the HOA was actually doing its job properly, without someone abusing the system for their own personal vendettas. And trust me, everyone noticed. With Karen gone, the new board wasted no time fixing the chaos she left behind. The illegal car storage rule, removed. Unjustified fines, canceled. New rule, board members must get a second opinion before issuing any towing orders. Mrs. Jensen, the new HOA president, made it very clear at the next meeting. We're here to support this community, not to control it. And just like that, the neighborhood finally had peace. Even though Karen was gone, her infamous reputation lived on. Can I park in my driveway now? Or is a ghost Karen going to tow me? Imagine moving to a new neighborhood and finding out Karen is your neighbor again. I'm thinking of putting a fake Karen-free zone sign in my yard. One neighbor even made a custom doormat that read, "This car is legally parked." Nice try, Karen. Looking back, this whole insane situation taught me a few things. Some people love power more than they love being right. Karen didn't care about rules. She cared about control. Always know the rules, because HOA Karens will try to make up their own. If I hadn't read the HOA bylaws, Karen would have gotten away with it. The best revenge is exposing someone in front of everyone. The moment the entire neighborhood saw the truth, Karen lost everything. HOAs aren't bad, but they're dangerous in the wrong hands. Once Karen was gone, the HOA actually functioned like it was supposed to. Karen thought she could tow my car and get away with it. She thought she could twist the rules to her advantage. She thought she could harass me into backing down. But in the end, she lost her power, her reputation, and even her home. And me? I got my car back for free. And best of all, I got to watch Karen's entire empire crumble, one bad decision at a time. And that, my friends, is how Karen's obsession with power completely backfired. What do you think? Have you ever dealt with an HOA Karen who thought they could make up their own rules? Or worse, a HOA that actually towed your car for no reason? Share your wildest HOA or neighborhood revenge stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to keep HOA Karens in check. Subscribe to Tailflow for more insane HOA and revenge stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss another Karen takedown. Thanks for watching, and remember, if an HOA Karen ever tries to mess with you, just make sure you know the rules better than they do. See you in the next one.